Tyrel, what has been sort of the odyssey of getting to this point? Because this is a huge deal for you guys. We are huge advocates for civil liberties, but cannabis has always been a huge problem when it comes to the legalization factor, because very few people, I think, truly, even when you're really in the political arena, most people are not fully aware just how powerful big alcohol and big pharma really are, and the amount of money that they spend to lobby against any type of cannabis legalization, because they know that if people are smoking weed, they're less likely to be popping pills or drinking alcohol.
Well, exactly. And also I think the biggest thing that scares, let's say, the alcohol industry or the pharmaceutical industry is that the thing with cannabis is that anyone can grow it. It's a weed. You can grow it and make it yourself if you want to. So that's always been the big fear, is that it's easily accessible. Now, when you want to get into the more exotic stuff like we do with various edibles and flavors and hybrids and all of that, that's where you can start going to the stores and going to the recreational outlets or ordering it online like we have. But it's been a journey. We, myself, along with the three of my partners at Jesse Ventura Farms, we started this project 3 years ago. And kind of all came together, and all of the three people that I work with, Tabitha Wallace, Robert Watson, and L. Jeffrey Moore, we all have various backgrounds in both entertainment and business. And we came together and said, the two, at the time, this is about 2020, right during the pandemic, we were kind of looking at the state of the country and going like, okay, well, what are the two biggest industries you can kind of get into still and be entrepreneurs in? And at the time, it was the cannabis industry and cryptocurrency. And I'm sorry, I don't know nothing about cryptocurrency. To me, it seems like kind of a tech bro fad thing. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't, there's probably good people out there, but it seems a little bit like a scheme in the long run of things, like most currency is. But as we wanted to get into the cannabis industry, and that is when we said, let's approach my father, because he's been an advocate his entire life. And as he told the story, it's meant so much to our family and the impact it's had on our family in saving my mother's life, that it was kind of a natural idea to go to him. And so that kind of, we went to him with our concepts and our ideas. And thankfully, my dad said, yes, run with it. I'd love to be a part of this. And so then we, at the time, Minnesota was, I think it was just medical, but they were still wildly restrictive, and they weren't going to do recreational cannabis. And so we were looking at the states that you could, whether Colorado, California. I think back in 2020, it was still pretty, it was maybe 15 states or so, if that. And so we were looking at California, and then that's when the governor got the call from Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and said they were going to push hard to make cannabis recreational and bring it above board in the state of Minnesota. And that's when we decided, let's switch and obviously go to the home state, go to the state where Jesse, where he was governor and where I'm from and where our heart lies. It's our families here. We're born and bred Minnesotans, and we love Minnesota. And so that's when we changed operations and moved here. And, after it was passed, we interviewed and auditioned a lot of like local Minnesota homegrown companies, because we wanted to use Jesse's brand and the strength of his voice and the strength of everything he spent a lifetime building to really get behind a local business here and really kind of prop up those businesses, because the fight in the marijuana industry is kind of the fight in a lot of industries, is that you don't want the big conglomerates coming in and then driving out the small middle and middle-sized or small business owners. That same fight is going on in the cannabis industry. And so that's why, after auditioning and meeting with a lot of different companies, we went with Retro Bakery, which is a local company out of Brooklyn Center, which is the city right next to where Jesse was mayor of Brooklyn Park. It's a beautiful, diverse working group there. One of the co-owners is a black female. It was one of those companies. They have a daycare. It's like one of the best progressive kind of run companies you could find, with a lot of hardworking blue collar people involved in it. And it just fit who we were, and they were excited. We were excited. And the best part about it is they make some really incredible products. I mean, the taste alone.
That is a very good transition, because we're going to pull it up now.
Yeah.
Because for everybody who's watching, the website is retrobakery.net/. Please tell us about some of these wonderful products.
But see, now a lot of this stuff can't be sent to us here in like Florida, right? Like there's
Actually,
certain rules
yes, it
about
can.
this.
Actually,
Okay.
yes, it can, because this is part of the. These products are all made from the hemp end, so it falls under the like Delta 9 and
Okay.
Delta 8 and things like
Okay.
that. So
Good.
now next year we're going to grow up to, because Minnesota will officially be able to sell it and distribute it. Next year we'll go up to the official cannabis end. But essentially, as we all know, it's kind of the same thing. Really, it's just molecular, a little different. I'm not the PhD to explain that, but the results that you want are all the same. So you can actually order these around the country and things like that, and you're safe to order them and things like that. But we sat down with Retro Bakery and with Jesse and came up with some really fun products that really spoke to who Jesse is, and also spoke to like what Retro Bakery is capable of. They're some of the best chocolate makers in your life. Like I want some of their candy bars just simply because they taste great. Not even just that they'll also give you the great high. But we developed the Lake Street collection and the 38th Governor's Selects collection, which are all curated by us and Jesse. Lake Street we picked because it's one of the most famous streets in Minneapolis that Jesse grew up next to, and it's kind of your everyday beautiful products there. And then also the Governor's Select is kind of the really special, neat products that taste the best, and they're gummies and chocolate bars. They're really great stuff, and I don't want to sound like I'm just hawking products on your channel here right now, but it's really close to our hearts and close to Jesse's hearts what we've been able to accomplish with all this.
Well, we're definitely going to make an
well,
order.
you had me at chocolate, but like that's the thing. You had me at chocolate. Like I'm not so into the gummies, but like now I see there's a chocolate situation.
All right. So
well, the other nice thing too with the gummies is they make them, I believe, from Picton as opposed to just pure like fake sugar. So everything in it is vegan and natural too. I'll tell you this, Jen, if you like the chocolate, you're gonna love. There's a white. There's a white chocolate, a lemon bar flavor that's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I would eat it whether it got me high or not. It's just,
I'm gonna have to put in an order for this. I'm gonna have to put in an order for this later. But yeah, we see the same stuff here when we were having. We do have recreational on the ballot for November, which is great. They've tried in the past. The one initiative they tried to get through in the past, but didn't allow for home grow. And now this one does. And the problem is, and I've been saying this for a long time, the last thing we need is a big pharma of weed. Like that's the last thing that I want to happen. So that doesn't help us in any way. We're people like us are better off with it, not even big. Please.
I think you're going to see an attempt at that, of course. You're going to see an attempt for, if I can switch it over to alcohol, you're going to see Miller Beer. You're going to see Budweiser. You're going to see them try to get the entire industry across the country. But also remember this, even in the alcohol industry, you got all those micro brews surviving out there. You got all the local, and that's what we're pushing. And on everything we sell, there'll be a state of Minnesota stamp on it. And we're putting that on there to Minnesotans, basically saying, hey, we can produce cannabis in Minnesota. We can cultivate it in Minnesota by Minnesotan. Keep the money in Minnesota where it belongs because it's a Minnesota product. And now we're going everywhere with it. And certainly other states have the ability to say the same thing. But I think in the cannabis industry, there's room for survival because there's always been an underlying loyalty to cannabis smokers when it was always illegal. You could go anywhere in the country pretty well and always get it.
Yeah.
And you got it just because there's a sense between cannabis smokers.
Yes.
They feel each other, for a lack of better term, and they're very loyal.
We smell each other too.
Maybe that's it.
I got to tell you, I am often out and I can smell my people, and I'll say to him, like, I smell my people somewhere.
Well, and one of the things that we're also doing with this is I want to also stress too that for Jesse and all of us here at Jesse Ventura Farms, this isn't a quick cash grab for us. Like one of the things that we're looking to do with these products and as we introduce more different variables and things like that and different modalities down the line is we're also going to use proceeds from what we do to help groups that need money and need help and things of that nature. So, we'll put out specialized products that then, such and such percentage of the sales go back to go back to this charity or go back to this activist group or things of that nature. Because look, as we all know here in the United States of America, as tragically as this is, money makes a difference. We see it every day on Capitol Hill, how many lobbyist groups spend money to influence our politicians to vote against our best wishes. Well, the only way that you can combat that is by funneling money against that. As I like to think of it, it's like the good Illuminati. You know, if you can start sending your money to the right causes and really helping those that really need it to push back against some of the dastardly things we see coming out of Washington or coming out of these big corporations, this is one of the ways we do it. And at Jesse Ventura Farms, we're definitely looking in. That's going to be part of who we are. Ben and Jerry is a good example of, like, they're always out at all the big protests and things like that, handing out ice cream and putting their money where their values are.
Oh, please come hand out weed at all the rallies in the market. Please come do that. Nobody ever is doing that.
Here's another thing I want for my ego. Now, I've had multiple careers, throughout, from wrestler to, getting elected governor to movies with Arnold, you name it, and all that. But here's what I want out of cannabis. Paul Newman is known, wait a minute, he's known today by an entire generation of young people only for his spaghetti sauce. Most of them don't even know he was a race car driver and a tremendous actor. Well, cannabis gives me the opportunity where I can become my own Paul Newman. Where I want to be recognized with cannabis, Jesse Ventura, to where maybe the cannabis will overwhelm the wrestling and all the stuff that preceded it. And that's my motivation today. I want to become, with the new generation, the next Paul Newman, who they recognize for something other than what he was actually famous for.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when you were talking about giving it back, the first thing that came into my mind, it's like Newman's Own.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's one of the reasons that came through my mind. And one of the reasons I've always loved that is because 100% of their profits have always gone to charity. And plus, I mean, come on, it was Paul Newman. Now, and I am old enough to know what that is. Like, I get that. So yeah, but I think that's a huge thing.
I mean, who can't love Reggie Dunlop?
Player coach Reggie Dunlop.
Player coach Reggie Dunlop from Slapshot.